Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is the start of the new year. It is January 4th, 2025, and we're gonna do this right. We're gonna start this off with a little something here. So cheers to everyone. Cheers to getting over 10,000 subscribers again before the year ended in 2024. Thank you very much to all the new subscribers. Let's start this off right with a little something. And there you go. So as I ended the year with a thank you to everyone and what to expect for this upcoming year, one of the things I talked about is how I like different, how I liked to go out and try things, right? Excuse me. Had a little something got me. And as you see from the thumbnail, um, we'll say mid-November, I went out and got a camera from a company that I've been following since they came out, and that's the Pixii camera company. And here you go with the Voigtlander 40mm attached to it. I have the Pixii Plus. I got this from B&H, and basically finally itched a scratch that I've been itching for a long time. So you sit there and say, okay, Warren, great, but what the heck is a Pixii? Some of you may not even heard of this brand, but what this is it is a true digital rangefinder. If you like shooting rangefinders and you find yourself with an M6 camera, like a M6 or like a M series digital camera, like the M10, and we'll just say M8 and up, right? I believe that's the digitals, maybe M7 up to the current M11. They all use a rangefinder system to focus and give you what I consider is their M6 or lower film-like rangefinder experience, but in a digital format. Well, the Pixii is jumping into the market, wanting to provide rangefinder digital cameras, in the style of more like the Leica M10 and M11D series, where there is no digital LCD on the back of this camera. So the only way you're going to see the images on this camera is via the app or other options you have to be able to pull those images off the camera and view them on, say, your laptop or smart device or so forth and so forth. So and if you're big into the rangefinder experience like I am with the Leica M6 here, that's what you're getting with like a Leica D series on the inside, like the 10 and 11, or again now the Pixii. So that's what this is, literally. It is my digital version, a lot cheaper than like an M11, of an M6 film experience. And that's honestly who I would say this camera is for. So there you go. But let's talk a little bit more about the features when it comes to this camera. So what you have here is a camera, as I said, that doesn't have an LCD screen. We'll talk about what this camera doesn't have first, and then what this camera does have, and then how it's set up to move forward. This camera does not have an SD card slot. This camera does not have a hot shoe. That is a cold shoe that you're seeing right there. It is not a hot shoe. So you cannot use a flash with this camera. You cannot take this camera in studio and use studio flash because, again, that's a cold shoe. That's not a hot shoe. This camera does not have its own built-in Wi-Fi. And we'll talk about that later and how I feel about that as I go through my experience with this camera since I got it in early mid-November till now. So those are the things this camera doesn't have. But what does this camera have? Well, this camera has a port right here for you to plug USB-C in, for power, and also to be able to pull the images off of. That's one of your options. This has a menu button right here, and then it has a kind of a dial selector for the items that pop up on the menu on the top where you have the LCD screen. So as I do a little bit of a long press and turn this on, you see the Pixii come on right there, and then you see the menu information right there, or at least what it's telling me the camera is doing as it's, using the light meter information on the front up here at the top. to and what the lens aperture is set at and so forth to give me readings if I'm looking at this at the top. I get that same information in the viewfinder, which is also on the back right here. And this particular one has the magnet style eyepiece that you can change out for various diopter settings. For those of us who have glasses and maybe you don't want to wear your glasses while wearing this, because as you can see, if you're going to wear glasses and wear this, you're going to probably hit this eyepiece a couple of times. Um, what it also uses is the Sony battery. Oops, sorry, right here. And that's the compartment right there. And I would highly recommend you get extra batteries if you're going to get this camera so that you can shoot longer. I was out shooting today for about an hour in the 21-degree weather in Ann Arbor, and the battery got to 50-ish%, 45 I think, before I was done. I think a lot had to do with the cold, but there you go there. And I do have a few batteries for this. As you can see on the bottom too, you also have your tripod plate mount as well if you want to put this on a tripod. At the very top, as we continue, you have your shutter button right here. You have your shutter speed dial right here. I had to think about that. And it gives you the ability to put it in auto, and you also in the settings can auto lock it. So if that dial gets bumped, you it doesn't change your settings up and you try to figure out what's going on. And on the back we also have three statuses. One is for the status of the camera, one is for a link to your smart device that you link to with the app, and the other one is the battery. And that's it when it comes to the features on the front, back, and so forth, with obviously it using in-mount lenses. And if that wasn't obvious, I'll say it uses in-mount lenses. So when it comes to the lens selection, they don't have their own lenses. They just make cameras, but there are plenty of manufacturers who make in-mount lenses, and you have a plethora, in my opinion, of lenses to choose from on here. But when it comes to this camera, this is an APS-C version. They also have a full frame version called the Pixii Max. It's a 24 megapixel sensor. The APS-C is a 26 megapixel sensor. And yeah, it has internal memory. So this camera will come with a variety of internal memory options when you purchase it. This particular one has 128 in it, which is enough for me. Some people may have wanted it to have 256 or even higher. And that might be an option later. But as it stands right now, I believe at the time when I first looked at this, you can get 16, 32, 64, and 128. It has a 64-bit processor, if I'm saying that correctly, which helps it now move and operate even faster. Once it's on, as you can see, it is a very basic on the display. And you hit the menu button and that's it. Hopefully you guys can see that running back and forth. A number of different features in there, from changing the focal length of the lens you're using as well. Now this will let you use, or at least it has a setting for a lens as wide as 12 millimeters, and then it goes all the way up to 135 on the telephoto end. But as far as the bright lines in the viewfinder, I believe it stops at 24 or 28 and goes to 50 on this one. On the Max, I believe it goes to 90. So there's all the features in a nutshell. Real big, quick overview of that, because why? I kind of want to get into the experience. So I'm not considering this just a feature. I'm considering it part of the experience with this camera. One of the other biggest reasons that I think a person would look at this camera and look at this brand is because of their way of upgrading. This is an upgradable platform style of strategy they're using. And what I mean by that is you don't just get firmware upgrades. You don't just get software upgrades. You also can do hardware upgrades with them. They started off with a Pixii camera and had feature sets, software, firmware, hardware, and then went to a Pixii Plus, which changed out hardware as well as firmware and software. And then they went to a Pixii Max, again, hardware as well as firmware and software. And All of that with your own actual camera that you send back to France, and they do their thing for, of course, a fee. A lot cheaper than just buying a whole new camera. So unlike the current manufacturers out there, brands where you're going to usually get new feature sets by buying a new camera body, they're allowing you to to send yours in for a fee and upgrade your actual one, keeping the same body with features and things like that, which I think is fantastic. And that's part of the experience that you're going to have when you're going to get this camera, not just a feature. Now, in the month and a half I've had it, it's had a firmware upgrade and a software upgrade, which has been great. As far as what they do, I don't know. I've noticed some changes in the menu and so forth. And they do release notes eventually. And that brings me to part of the experience that I want to get off my chest right now, get it out in the open right now. They are a new company, very young new company, very small group of people. I don't know how many, but I don't think it's more than 20 engineers, most of them, and they hand build these cameras. When they're working on something, everything else slows down, communications and so forth. They're working on that. They're getting better, because when they do communicate, oh boy, you're going to hear from these folks, which I think is fantastic when they get to that point. Now, they just finished their big full frame production run right now. They're all sold out almost on their website. And I believe on B&H, you still can get some that they've worked with B&H and send some to B&H. Now, again, I got mine from B&H, but I got to be honest with you guys. I did get mine used on B&H, so it was at a very nice discounted price than what I would have got it new. And again, that helps me with my experience, giving them some leeway on the new company thing and new company hiccups, headaches, whatever you want to call it. But I will say the camera itself and the build quality, this thing is great. I mean, this thing feels like, to me, it does feel like I got a Leica in my hand. The way it feels, the way the material feels, the metal, the rubber and the plastics. But I will say, again, getting it off my chest right now out in the open is, you're going to deal with the newness of the company after you buy the product when working with the product. So be ready for that. It is getting better, a lot better. And I'm hoping that as they continue to grow, and I think that's part of it, because they got, I think, a very good product here, they will bring bodies on board, revamp their processes that need to be to make sure they're giving the quality customer service that they're given, I think, in the build quality and in the performance of this camera. So as I've been talking, you've been seeing images popping up from me being on a number of outings over the past month and a half with this camera. And I have to say that just like with the film camera, this makes me purposely shoot. It makes me take my time and look for things to shoot, because I don't know what it's going to look like right away. And I want to go after the purpose of me being out there. Like today, I went out and did some street photography and wanted to capture whatever I could in the brisk 21-degree weather. And it slowed me down more so than if I had the LCD back there and I could see what I was doing. I wanted to be a little bit more targeted, if you will, in my shooting. The colors, there are some cast at times with the colors. I consider that a characteristic for sure. And as they continue to work on their color science too, because right now, if you edit in Lightroom, you also can go to their website and pull the profiles over and upload them in the Lightroom, and then put those profiles that they have on their site that are in here, and it's a few, about 10 or so, to put on the images in Lightroom, the DNG images, because that's how I shoot. You can shoot in JPEG and they'll be burned in automatically, but I want the full information from the image to be able to do what I want with it, so I shoot in DNG. Now, I have some JPEGs that I've shot in, and they do look great. I think the color and the detail from this sensor in the megapixels is very usable. Could be a little better, I think, and they're working on that. But there are times where, and that's me with film, there are times when you take a shot and you're amazed at how good the shot was, because you're like, wait a minute, what did I do? How did I do that? Can I duplicate that? But with that, I have to say there's something that this does when I'm shooting that I didn't read anywhere, and it might be from one of the firmware updates or the software update, is it will buzz, like kind of like a buzzer. When I press the shutter, if the camera is not ready yet, if it's not ready yet, and then I'll stop, recheck my settings, and then I'll see that it's ready and press the button. So it slows me down, and I hope that's a feature set and let me know that, hey, you just, no, you don't want this one yet. And I've seen that too when I do it in the images, where the images, the colors will be off on a white balance, but the next image is spot on, like that. I should have, that's right there, not the okay, but the spot on snap. And so I like that if that is a feature set, but at the same time, I can't hear the shutter button sometimes. It's an electronic. Oh, I did fail to mention that. One of the most important things. This is an electronic shutter, and so it has a fake shutter noise, and you can set the volume for it in the menu. And I have it halfway, and I'm about to increase it all the way up because at times I can't hear it when I'm out, especially in the streets. It can be a little noisy sometimes, or windy, or I have music in my ears, and I can't feel it because it's electronic. There's no mechanical slap. But what I do like that helps me with that is if there's a lens on the front that it has the frame lines for, the frame lines will blank out and back on when you press the shutter button. So that part is nice. I just wish there was more of a tactile, haptic feel to the shutter button, so I know that I definitely pressed it. And honestly, guys, I think I could say that about the Z8 as well, because that's a fully electronic shutter, and it's the same to me. I would wish that one was the same as well, but I do like, again, the buzz kind of I get when it's not ready. Again, I hope that was part of the firmware update, and if it was, great guys on that. When it comes to going from color to mono, I think the mono is where it's at on this. The monochrome profile is beautiful. I like what this camera does, how it renders it. It's not like a Leica where it's a specific sensor thing. It is definitely the camera doing some processing to give you that monochrome color that it renders when you take an image. But man, I like it. It's crisp, it's sharp. I like how it handles the shadows, and I like how it handles the blacks. Highlights, you definitely want to make sure you're watching your highlights so you don't blow them out the water, but I like it right now over the color profiles that I get. So that I can say is one of the pluses I think about using this camera when you're shooting black and white, is I think you're going to be happy with that. Now, when it comes to the app, because again, what this camera does is it's just like the Leica M11Ds or the Leica M series D cameras. You're going to be forced to use the app to see your images until you can get back and be able to either use the setting to use an external, like I have here, an adapter with a USB-C end on it and an SD card in it. I can pull it in the camera and go to USB settings and be able to transfer all the images off of this. And when it does, it takes them off the camera. It literally takes them off the memory, puts them on the SD card, and I can go about going to whatever device I want to load them up and use my editor. Or I can plug the camera in via USB-C, not only to charge the battery that's in the camera, but to also, while it's charging, utilize the camera to go into the USB-C and go about that process to show the camera in or as a memory storage device on my laptop, and then point to it with my editor and pull those images off. Now, when you do it that way, it does not erase the images off the camera. They're still on it. So just to let you know, if you do one way where it sees a storage key, I guess it calls it, and will move the images onto there and move them off your camera, or you do it the other way where you use it with the PC and it does not erase the images. So again, part of the experience of working with this camera, but you can utilize the app to see the images. Now, I'm going to speak a little more on the app right now so that you understand the experience you're going to get when you're using the app. Because this camera is app specific more than any other cameras that I use, it has me actually really looking at the app and how it operates versus the other camera brands and their apps. And I can say it's pretty much the same. It all comes down to connectivity. And with this, and we'll get into this after I talk about the app, because this doesn't have its own built-in Wi-Fi, it's going to use Bluetooth. Most of the time, you're probably out and want to see your pictures. Like today for me, while I was sitting in the pizzeria eating a slice of pizza, I was able to go in and review the images. But because of the number of images I took, and because they were DNG, and because it was using Bluetooth, I had to wait a little. If this had its own Wi-Fi in it, I know for sure it would have been a faster process. Because of this camera, I've tried it on my X100V, and it is a faster process once it connects. I've tried it with my Leica Q2 reporter, excuse me. I keep wanting to say monochrome, but reporter. And the Leica app, same thing. Once it connects with the Wi-Fi with the camera, boom, it is a lot faster experience. So it's nice that I can see them with Bluetooth. Just understand it's going to take a little bit more time. I think you can download JPEGs though completely to your phone with Bluetooth. You definitely can't with the DNGs. And another thing about the app you cannot do is with the app on the camera, it gives you the opportunity to get like a live view. Well, if you don't have Wi-Fi, meaning if you're not on a Wi-Fi network with the camera and your device is not on the same Wi-Fi network, it's going to not allow the live view to work. So I think again, if this had its own Wi-Fi, it would be a better experience for those things. But once the images are on there, you have a number of options you can do. With the Bluetooth part, again, all you see is a basic preview. With Wi-Fi, you can actually download and see a more high definition preview, and even download the image to your device and then be able to take it into a, let's say, like Lightroom Mobile I have on my iPhone, and edit that image and then have it ready to share like that. So I was able to do that while sitting in the bar a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic. So when it comes to the app, there are a lot of positives about it. I think you get full feature experience when you have Wi-Fi connection. So if they were to do that with putting that in, then I think this would just bump up the experience to another notch. So my experience with the camera has been very positive. Yes, there's been some hiccups, some things that I know it's just a matter of getting used to shooting the camera, which is why I believe in when you get a new camera, give yourself some time to play with it, give yourself some time to learn it, see what its quirks are. All of them have it, and then be able to really see if it's something for you. And I could say for me right now, yeah, this is going to be around for a little bit. So what would I like to see Pixii do with this camera going forward? Well, let's start off with, I said, the features that it does have and the features that it doesn't have. I think they should make a hot shoe replacement for it, allowing us to shoot flash with this, because I can shoot flash with my M6, and I want to be able to shoot flash with a camera that costs as much as this camera costs. The other thing I think they should do, if it's possible, is satisfy people's concern with a SD slot. Do what Nikon did. If that's the minimum you're going to do, do what Nikon did with the ZF. Put a micro SD in here if that's the case. It will still act as a memory. A person can easily pull out the SD card or micro SD and put it in an adapter, and there you go. If you have the space, then yeah, go ahead and put a full size one in here, and there you go. That gives people that concern. They can continue to use the internal memory as backup, and then use the SD card as the main thing they go and pull the information out with and do what they need to do. The other thing I would like to see them do is come out with, and it's a nitpick in a way, and it's not a nitpick. I think they need to work on accessories. Because this thing is a block, guys. This is a block, just like a Leica. It's a block, right? But I'm able to get with my M6, even with the Q2 reporter I picked up, I'm able to get accessories to make it more of a comfortable experience handling the camera. So right now I'm trying to work with somebody to get a half case for this thing. I'm trying to find a thumb rest that can go into the cold shoe, to give this a little bit more curvature and bump to it, so it could be a lot easier to handle. As you saw in some of the video that I showed me using this, I'm even trying to work on what's a good strap to use, whether I'm trying to keep a peak design or trying to put a permanent, leather or some type of strap on here. I think I might go that route, but I'm still working on that. So yeah, I really think they should work on some accessories to have with their cameras to help them be more of a comfortable ergonomic or ergonomic enhancement to what they have here. A little bit of a nitpick, but I think they should definitely be looking at that. So, and then the final one would be the shutter. I think they need a little bit more of a haptic type feel on that press. Would I care if this had a what do you call it? Kind of like a Fuji type of shutter on here where I can screw in a soft shutter button? I think so. I think that would be nice. Even if they were able to use the current one, I think it needs a little bit more of a click to it to let you know that you half pressed and then you full press. Because right now, when it's half press and full press, it's hard. It's sometimes for me, especially as cold as it is hard, it was hard to determine if I fully pressed this thing or not, or if I was half pressing this thing or not. The only way I know is if I was looking through the viewfinder and I saw those bright frame lines flicker, then I knew I took a picture. So, or I knew if I saw the information that I have that I wanted to display at the bottom, which is the ISO and the shutter speed, I knew if I half press, I would see the autofocus lock come up, and that's when I knew I'm at least on half press. But it's such a quick distance, short distance, if you will, that it's hard to know that I'm half pressing it at times or if I actually took the picture. So I think it does make a slight click, but with gloves on, I couldn't feel this thing today. And so yeah, and I noticed before when I didn't have the gloves on, it's a little tricky, a little too soft, if you will. So there you go, guys. That is the that is the Pixii camera. This is the Pixii Plus I have again here, APS-C sensor, 26 megapixels. And tell me what you guys think about the camera. Tell me what you think about the review. Is this something you think you would get? I mean, if you're like me and you enjoy a Leica film experience and you don't care to have a LCD screen on the back, but yet you don't want to pay for that M11 or M10D, this is an option. And I think they did a very good job here. Yes, there's going to be some hiccups dealing with the company right now because they're brand new and they're working out some things and as they grow. But they, I think, have produced a really nice product here that has a lot of room to grow and improve and just get better than what it is. And where it's at right now, I'm liking what I can do with this camera. So hit the comments, guys. Let me know what you think about the images. Let me know what you think about the review, and let me know if you've been looking at the Pixie and if you've been wanting to see what they can do over the past couple, I think a year since they've been out. I'm not sure, maybe 2 years. Now that they've introduced the Max full frame, is it an option for you? So, see you guys on the next video. Enjoy and get out and shoot.